Welcome, dear listeners, to the Unknown Chronicles, where the veil between reality and the impossible is but a whisper, and the dark has stories to tell. Tonight we step once more into the realm of the strange, the unsettling, and the unseen. Shadows shift, voices call, and sometimes the road you travel is not the one you return from. Let's step into the darkness. This tale comes from Kaley of California, and it is read by your host, Thorne Bloodrose. Take heed and listen well, for this is The Whispering Box. I've been a delivery driver for years, making routine runs up and down the West Coast. Most of the time I'm hauling average packages. Nothing too big, nothing too special. But this one should have been a big, blaring red flag. And I should have listened to my instincts. I've heard rumors about this company, whispers among other drivers. They said it was more of a cult than a business, but I brushed them off. Money talks, after all. And they were offering a generous sum for rush delivery. The package arrived at the depot that morning, oddly pristine, despite its ancient, almost archaic appearance. It was small, about the size of a shoebox, wrapped in cracked dark wood. The wood looked aged, worn like it had been buried for centuries. Its surface was covered in deep carvings of symbols or ruins, I don't know. But they shifted, moving when I wasn't looking directly at them. The thing didn't seem natural, but the pay was good. Too good. So I agreed to take it. It had no return address, just a phone number and a single name. The Company of Silence. They didn't tell me much else, just that the package was to be delivered to an address in Seattle, and it had to be done by sunrise the next morning. I didn't think much of it at first. It was just another package. Just another day on the job. At least, that's what I tried to tell myself. As I drove north on the 101, the weight of the box in the back seat felt daunting. I kept glancing at it in my rearview mirror, watching the shadows dance across its surface. It was almost like it was breathing. The hours passed and the road seemed endless. The box remained perfectly still, but something about it made my hair stand on end. The closer I got to Oregon, the heavier the air felt. A sense of unease settled in my gut, but I couldn't place why. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe it was the strange markings on the box. I tried to focus on the road to keep my mind clear, but something about that box wouldn't let me. I had to admit it. Then I heard whispers. I thought it was the radio at first. They were subtle, just a soft rustling like wind through dry leaves. But it wasn't static from me hitting a dead zone. It could have been my imagination, but it was coming from inside the truck with me, inside the box. Then it happened again, this time clearer. A faint voice. No, not just one voice, but many, speaking in harmony, urging me to listen. Open me, they called. A smooth, tempting voice that slithered under my skin. I slammed my fist on the steering wheel, trying to shake it off. I was fine. I was in control. But deep inside, that pull, a tantalizing voice just begging me to obey. The mouth seemed to stretch on forever. The whispers growing louder, more urgent, as though they knew I was getting closer to my destination. I stopped at a rest stop just outside Portland. My SUV groaned as I pulled in, the engine sputtering almost as if the vehicle itself was protesting. I sat there for a while, staring at the box, sitting perfectly still in the back. The world around me felt strangely quiet, like it was holding its breath. Just take a look, The voice whispered again seductively. Just a glance. You've come this far. It won't hurt. Open it. I resisted. I knew better. There was something primal in me that screamed to keep driving, to get that damn package to Seattle and be done with it. But the whispers were so persistent, and before I knew it, I found myself walking towards the rear door. I hesitated only for a moment, then opened it. The box seemed to glow in the dim of the parking lot, as though it was beckoning me. Slowly I pulled it out, my heart hammering in my chest. The moment my fingers touched the warm water, cold ran through my veins. The carvings, they were moving, twisting beneath my touch, rearranging themselves as if the box were alive. My breath hitched. Something was terribly wrong, and I knew I should leave it, call someone else to handle it. But I didn't. I had to know what was inside. I had to know. My fingers trembled as I unlatched the box. The moment it clicked open, everything went dark. Not just my vision, but my mind. I can't remember what happened next. Time seemed to stop. For a few moments, I felt like I was floating, disconnected from my body, from reality. But then I was back, sitting in the driver's seat of my SUV. The engine running, the headlights casting long shadows across the empty lot. I looked down at the box in my lap, but it was gone. In its place was a strange sensation, like a cold emptiness spreading from the center of my chest outward. My hands were pale, so pale they almost seemed translucent. I rubbed my fingers together, but they felt different. My body felt off. The weight in my chest grew heavier, like something was being torn apart. I had no idea what I unleashed, but I knew it was already too late. I put the SUV into gear and forced myself to drive again. Though it felt like I was moving through thick mud. The road seemed to stretch endlessly in front of me, and miles growing longer with each passing minute. The thoughts were hazy, distant. The whispers returned, faint but present, swirling around me like a storm. You've opened it. Here I was now. I couldn't stop. I had to get to Seattle. It was my job. But as the night pressed on, the world around me started to change. The sky turned an unnatural shade of gray. The clouds swirling in on itself. The air thickened and the road became twisted like it was winding into something otherworldly. By the time I reached outskirts of Seattle, I felt not like myself. My thoughts were all fragmented. I wasn't sure where I ended and the whispers began. When I pulled up to the building, the address I was given, I wasn't sure what I expected. The place was a dark, looming structure. Windows all boarded up except for one, and a single dim light flickered above the door. The door opened before I even had a chance to knock, revealing a man, or something that used to be a man. His skin was ashen, his eyes empty voids that seemed to suck in the light around them. "You've opened it," he said, his voice hollow, a twisted echo of something human. I nodded, unable to speak. I felt nothing, no fear, no regret, just an unbearable emptiness. "You belong to us now," he continued, a grin creeping onto his face. "We've been waiting for you." Before I could respond, he snatched the box from my hands and stepped back into the building. My legs were heavy, and I felt like I was moving through a dream disconnected from the world. I turned to leave, but my body struggled to move. My feet were no longer my own. I could barely feel the ground beneath me as I stumbled away. The echo of the whispers in my mind growing louder, clearer. You'll never leave. They sang, you will never be free. And as I walked, dragged myself into the night, I realized I wasn't human anymore. I couldn't feel my heartbeat. My skin felt thin, paper thin. Something inside me had snapped. Something that could never be repaired. I was no longer who I had been. The fox had claimed me. And now I was just a hollow shell of the person I once was. Walking through a wall that no longer felt real. And the whispers would never stop. Our dear driver learned the hard way that curiosity is a treacherous thing, especially when the object of that curiosity carries a curse older than time itself. The box whispered promises, offered glimpses of knowledge beyond human comprehension. But what it truly delivered was the unraveling of dear humanity. Now I know what you're thinking. Why take a job like that? But that's the nature of temptation, isn't it? It does not matter how smart you are, how careful. When something murmurs sweet promises in your ear, how long before you lean in? Just a little too close. So the next time a package arrives without a sender, a box you don't recognize, maybe think twice before reaching for it, because you never know what might be reaching back. And you certainly don't want to end up like our friend, walking away, but never truly yourself again. Thank you for listening tonight. And this has been Thorne Bloodrose, guiding you through another tale of the Unknown Chronicles. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your wits sharp, and your hands to yourself as we continue our descent into the unknown. Remember, the shadows are watching, and they are always so very close. Good night, Mass, and sleep tight, if you can.